Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting. This is our agenda, council agenda meeting of May 16th, 2023. It's our regular. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building on December the 21st, 2022, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Newark Star Ledger on December the 28th, 2022. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Would you please join us in the flag salute? Councilman Neglia, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Township.
Mr. Karifi?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Mr. Musella?
Here.
Mr. Neglia?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Here.
Also in attendance are Mayor James Barbario, Business Administrator Jamie Cryan, CFO Len Ho, Township Attorney Michael Lavery, and Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, June 13th, 2023 at 7 o'clock, an agenda meeting. June 27th, 2023 at 7 o'clock will be our regular meeting. Approval of minutes. The agenda meeting of 4/4/23 might do it. Regular meeting 4/18/23. May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Presentations and reports. Mayor Barbario?
You want me to give my comments during the budget portion or now?
I'd like you to wait for the budget, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Township Council. Township Attorney, Mr. Lavery.
No report at this time, Council President.
Business Administrator, Mr. Cryan.
No report, Council President.
Township Clerk Madden.
No report, Council President. Thank you.
I have a Economic Development Committee report. We welcome Dr. Santosh on Thursday, May 4th, with a ribbon-cutting celebration. Dr. Santosh is located at 1236 Route 46, Parsippany. The committee will be attending a groundbreaking ceremony of district at 1515 on Tuesday, May 23rd at 11 o'clock. The next meeting of the Economic Development Committee is on Wednesday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m. at 90 East Halsey Road, third floor conference room. The public is invited. Please RSVP with Chairman Frank Cahill at 973-559-6000. Mr. Karifi, Councilman
Engineering
Karifi.
report, 2021 road resurfacing curb and sidewalk program. The annual road resurfacing curb and sidewalk project is on hold pending negotiations with the contractor. No council action required. Rockaway River flood wall, levee inspection. Our consultant is working on preparing design details and a cost estimate for the maintenance and repair work to the flood wall and levee. Recent site inspections were made to aid the design of the repairs. Once the design and necessary permitting is complete, the project will be advertised for bid. No council action required. North Beverwick Road Streetscape Project Phase 1. The bid opening for the first phase of the North Beverwick Streetscape Project will be held on May 3rd, 2023. We are requesting award of the project at the May council meeting in order to meet the NJDOT's award deadline. A resolution will need to be adopted by the Township Council. 2023 Road Resurfacing Curb and Sidewalk Program. The annual road resurfacing curb and sidewalk project bid opening was held on March 29th, 2023. And contracts are in the process of being signed. A pre-construction meeting will be held in May once all documents are fully executed. No council action required. Mount Tabor Street Improvements Phase 7. The Mount Tabor Street Improvements Phase 7 project was awarded at the March council meeting. Contracts are in the process of being signed and a pre-construction meeting will be held in May once all documents are fully executed. We anticipate construction to begin in late May and continue through the beginning of October. No council action required. Drumlin Drive stream cleaning, the NJDEP permits have been issued for this project. Our consultant is finishing the design, and we intend to build the project later this year. No council action is required. Puddingstone Heights Improvement Project Phase 2, the second phase of Puddingstone Heights Road Improvement Project is in design. We anticipate bidding this project later this year. No council action required. Jefferson Road improvements, we received a $760,000 NJDOT grant for improvements to Jefferson Road, from Parsippany Road to Smith Road. The improvements include the resurfacing of the project, minor intersection upgrades, and significant drainage improvements, particularly near the East Halsey Road intersection. A pre-application meeting is scheduled with the NJDEP to permit requirements. The project will be bid once NJDEP permits have been issued. No council action required. Lake Intervale Area Street Improvements, the first phase of the Lake Intervale Area Street Improvements project is in design. We anticipate bidding this project once funding is available. No council action required. Roadway design projects, the following projects are in design or proposals have been requested. Troy Brook stream cleaning, Sylvan Way sidewalk improvements, river and stream desnagging plans and permits, Etten Road traffic study, Sylvan Way culvert improvements. No council action is required.
Thank you. Bids taken, May 3rd, 2023, North Beverwick Road Streetscape, Phase 1. May 11th, 2023, supplying various materials for various township departments. I'd like to entertain a motion, please, to open the public session.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call. Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
And Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Okay, so the floor is open to the public to speak on any matter. You have 5 minutes to speak. When you come up to the mic, please state your name only.
My name is Raymond Gallup. I'm here to talk about the budget and taxes. Increased spending and taxes leads to residents and businesses leaving Parsippany. Parsippany is hemorrhaging residents leaving the town. I know because 2 families left for Georgia and North Carolina. 3 houses near me are under contract to be sold. Several other houses are for sale as well. One family in the neighborhood told me they will be moving out of Parsippany in 2 years. They can't afford to live here anymore. There was not one resident I came across that said they were happy about a tax increase. Many said they are thinking of moving to another state. A resident, Vietnam-era U.S. Marine veteran, told me the town of Parsippany is spending like drunken sailors. A lot of residents told me they couldn't come to these meetings because they are forced to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. I know at least 4 registered Republican voters who are unhappy that taxes are going up instead of going down, and therefore even they who voted for the mayor will not vote for the mayor again. I noticed lots of empty buildings along North Beverwick Road and Route 46 and around Parsippany. If the town of Parsippany cut taxes, you might fill them with businesses and you wouldn't lose residents fleeing the town. Also, on another matter, my wife has brought up the fact that kids are riding bikes in Lake Hiawatha where they dangerously dart out in front of cars or riding the sidewalks, hitting into people there. When and if the police see these bike riders violating the law, they should give them tickets. If underage, the ticket should be issued to the parent. One way to raise revenue for the town. I saw that a bid for the North Beverwick Road Streetscape Phase 1 is $8,000. Is that taxpayer money or HUD or other federal grant or state grant money? How much in total will be spent on the North Beverwick Road streetscape project? Will it be millions of dollars? Is the project labor agreement involved in the North Beverwick streetscape project? And by the way, if you do a search for Joe Biden and the PLA, you will come up with executive order on use of project labor agreements for federal construction projects on the White House website. I heard that on the North Beverwick Road, the streets, the sidewalks will be widened. Is that a fact, or are they, and the road, North Beverwick Road being narrowed? That was another question I have on that. And if they are widened, the sidewalks, will that mean no parking on one side of the street or the other, or both sides? This will impact store owners, as people will not shop at their businesses as there is no convenient parking then. More people use the roads
Sir, you have 1 minute.
than walk on the sidewalks. Thank you.
Mayor, would you like to comment?
I'll make some comments with regards to what Raymond said. I just find it kind of funny, Raymond, that nobody contacts me with regards to the property taxes, because when they do contact me, I pretty much give them a pretty good layout of the budget and stuff like that with regards to the 2.5%, 2.57 increase in taxes that you were speaking about. If I received one phone call, that was it. I kind of find it strange that they're contacting you, but if you want to forward those messages to me, please feel free, Raymond. I would really appreciate it. With regards to the streetscape, and if I'm wrong, to the BA, that grant came in before I was even mayor. We got grant money, so it's not taxpayers' money. Well, it is taxpayers' money from the state, because that's how they collect the, I guess, the grant money. So I guess what you're trying to say, and I could be wrong, we just won't do it. We'll let the streetscape dilapidate, we'll let it get run down in Level Lake Hiawatha section, but things have to be done and be repaired. And as for the widening of the sidewalks, yes, that's what's going to happen. They're going to widen the sidewalks in certain areas of the Lake Hiawatha North Beverwick Road. First of all, in those areas, they'll be parking on both sides, because the roads are a lot wider in certain areas with regards to other areas, so there won't be a widening of the sidewalks, but there will be, and they're doing that for a reason. That's to help the streetscape out with regards to the property owners there who want to, have outdoor dining, so they can increase their revenues, so they can make a profit and stuff like that with regards to that. And that's the furthest I've gotten on it, because when I came in, the streetscape was already going. It was a grant that was given in 2021, and that's just phase 1. Phase 2 will be coming. So that's really all I can answer with regards to that. As for Parsippany, you know what? This is a great town, but when you hear that kind of speaking, it makes it sound like it's not a place you want to live. Well, it's the best place to live in the state of New Jersey. I can tell you that firsthand. And property taxes aren't an issue just in Parsippany. They're an issue in every single town in the state of New Jersey. And your taxes and the increase that you're getting is a sound budget. It's a fiscal responsible budget. Okay? We bring it to zero, like the gentleman wants us to do, then we're not going to be able to service certain things in the town. And I've said this over and over and over and over again. Okay, so I'm not here to be dishonest with you. I'm going to be truthful with you. I got to tell you, a lot of people that I talk to love the town of Parsippany, love the diversity, they love the school system, they love the town. This is the town that I grew up in. I've been here since 4 years old. This town is a great town. I will defend it, and I'll continue to defend it. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Nicholas Homyak. I'm here, two things were said at the last meeting, that one was misleading and another one, I guess you can say, wasn't true. The first one, from Councilman DiPiero implied that we're forced to buy water from Jersey City. In other words, we would have enough water, but the state is imposing their will on us, which nothing can be further from the truth.
And what are you basing that on?
It's called the Safe Drinking Water Act, or Rule, NJAC 710, and it's based on the science of firm capacity. Firm capacity means the adequate pumping equipment and/or treatment capacity, excluding coagulation, flocculation, and sedimentation, to meet peak daily demand as defined below, when the largest pumping station or treatment unit is out of service. So it's utility capacity and firm capacity. If we had the utility capacity, we wouldn't have to have the diversion, but we have two diversions, Morris County and Jersey City. You can find this information. And the main reason that we need these diversions and our firm capacity is not up to snuff is because the corporate development, better known as the tax rateable. The other thing that was said that was not true was from Mayor Barbario, that the developers can sue us. They can't sue us anymore.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't.
Yes, they can.
No, they cannot. And that is because now, I hope we still are anyway, in the Highlands Regional Conformance Plan, which we should have been in a long time ago. Fact, one of the well-promoted benefits of conformance is the legal shield provided by the state. State regulations or a municipal master plan that is substantially in conformance with the state-level regional management plan has a presumption of validity recognized by the courts of law, which puts the burden of proving offense on the plaintiff. So by Mayor Soriano finally getting us into the conformance plan, maybe a developer might try to sue us, but I'll tell you what, he'd lose. Before, we would fold up, and the developers had their way. And COA also, if we had a strict backbone in defending our municipality, the one you love so much, COA also has environmental rules that we seem to have forgotten about in the past. So I'll leave it at that, but I was upset at hearing those two things, and I am absolutely positive this, what I'm saying is true. And if I have to, I'll bring another person from the Highlands Coalition to verify what I'm saying about both subjects that I just mentioned.
Okay, I'm
Mr.
gonna let Mike,
Yes.
the water allocation, because I know exactly what you're going to say.
Well, first of all, I want to correct Nick. He's our microphone lawyer. Comes up with a spec of something and then applies it to something else. It's a fact that we were forced to have an alternate water source by the DEP. That's a fact.
Is the
So
Safe
don't tell me I'm
Drinking
not
Water
going
Act
back
a
and
fact?
forth.
No back and forth, sir. Sorry.
Well-
Let Mr. DePiero make his statement. You've already said yours.
Then I guess I should sit down.
No, you can stand there if you would like to
Well,
listen to what Mr.
If I
DePiero
can't-
has to say.
If I can't rebuttal, I might as well sit down.
So then please sit down then if that's what you'd like to do.
I will sit down and Mr. DePiero can have his piece.
We have artesian wells, 600-foot deep artesian wells in Parsippany. It's all underground well water, no contaminants, high mineral content, but no contaminants. And we did a study years ago, when Frank Troy was the mayor, to see how much water we had in the ground. And the experts that studied that told us that we had enough water in the ground to provide for Parsippany, even if all of our tracts of land were developed. Now, what happened in the meantime is the state, these artesian wells come from glaciers in Canada, they come down this way, but then they keep on going. So looking at Parsippany, we have plenty of water, but the state looks at the region, not just Parsippany. So if we deplete too much in those artesian wells, the water won't get to towns further downstream. So for that reason, the state restricted the amount of water we could pump out of the ground. And as a result, they required that we have an alternate water source. And so we have to buy 100 million gallons of water from Jersey City every year and pay for it whether we use it or not. So our water department wants to use it. Unfortunately, all of the water from Jersey City goes to the green water tank on, up by the knoll, and only the Lake Hiawatha residents get the Jersey City water. I know as soon as I put the glass of water to my mouth, I can tell it's Jersey City water. And I yell about it all the time. And I've been wanting to say, use that water to water the golf course. I don't want to drink it. But the 100 million gallons, the golf course only uses 4 million gallons a year, so it'll be a drop in the bucket, and the water department doesn't want to do it. So I go to bottled water for a few days every time we get Jersey City water in Lake Hiawatha.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, and you might have to help me out here, Mike, with regards to, first and foremost, when it comes to the Council on Affordable Housing, what I have learned, even as a business administrator, the power that Fair Share Housing has. It's totally amazing. And if the court tells you have to have affordable housing, I think that you have to have affordable housing. Now, I was a business administrator in Tewksbury Township, which is in the Highlands. And guess what? They had to build affordable housing. It was a mandate. They had to build it, and they're in the Highland region. They're in the thick of it. They're like one big green town. And I could be wrong on this, but it's based on your capacity. We have sewers. Well, Tewksbury put sewers in. Where I was also in Lebanon Township, I don't have to abide by it. Why? They have no sewers whatsoever. Everything is septic. So there are guidelines that we still have to follow. And if a developer sues us based on a court order by the judge, we're gonna have to build it. And they will get builder's remedy, and if they get builder's remedy, they can just go in and ignore all the zoning. Now, if I'm incorrect, please let me know.
No, you're
Going
right.
back almost 40 years
Okay.
ago, when it was determined that New Jersey needed affordable housing, and the legislators didn't legislate anything, the courts legislated for them. That was the Mount Laurel decision. And that decision said we have to provide for affordable housing. And the courts imposed that on most of the towns, not all of the towns. Harding Township, for instance, which has minimum 10 acre housing, which is really exclusionary zoning, they're not under the mandate for affordable housing because they have well water and septic systems, and you can't produce affordable housing unless you have sufficient townships, water and sewer. So they're exempt, but the rest of us have to pay. And I went to court, we fought that in the courts years ago. And I was at the court, and I was objecting internally to what the judge was saying. And he saw me shaking my head or doing something, wrinkling my nose, I don't remember. I was doing something that caught his attention. He says, "Who are you and what's your problem?" I said, "I'm Councilman Mike DePiero." I said, "Parsippany has done more for affordable housing probably than the other suburb in the state of New Jersey. We have 7,000, at that time, 7,000 apartments. We have high-density housing in Rainbow Lakes, in Lake Hiawatha, in Lake Parsippany, in Mount Tabor. We have 2 6-story senior citizen complexes. We even had a trailer park at that time. If I remember, Doc Krell had a trailer park on Route 46. I said, we've done more for affordable housing than anybody. Where are you to tell us we have to build 4,000 units in Parsippany? And he said, he leaned forward on his bench and he says, you're under the impression that I am here to render fair and impartial hearings. You're wrong. I am here to enforce affordable housing. Now, you can't fight with them. Whatever the allocation is, we can argue down some of the numbers. But if we don't come to an agreement with the courts on affordable housing, the courts will assign someone to do our land use projects themselves, and we'll have no control. So better we negotiate down the numbers as best we can and satisfy the courts. Then no builder can come here and say, I want to build affordable housing, 8-story high-rises over here. And if we're not meeting the court mandates, they'll be allowed to do it. We have to keep the courts happy, even though it makes us unhappy.
And just one more thing, and I'll let...
Our attorney was going to say something.
What I don't understand is, you made the comment with regards to the prior mayor putting us in the Highlands, and how the heck did we get 3,332 new units? If we were in the Highlands, like you said, they wouldn't have been able to build them. So now we got 3,332 units from 18 all the way to 2020. So I guess we weren't in the Highlands at the time.
No, we're not gonna go back and forth.
Okay, Mr. Lavery?
Okay, well, I wasn't the mayor. That's my point I'm trying to make to you.
Just a couple things. You still have to comply with affordable housing requirements, whether you're in the Highlands or not. That you have to do. Right. But with the legal shield, Mr. Homiak's right in that they say that, and I sat through probably 15 or 20 of their proposals when the Highlands first got passed. The problem is you still get sued. They just come in and say, we'll help defend your zoning, but Parsippany still gets sued. We still got to participate in the litigation, and at the end of the day, if we lose, it's Parsippany that suffers. So they made a big deal about this legal shield. The only shield is they provide a lawyer to help defend our zoning. That's what the legal shield is. It doesn't protect us from anything. It just adds another lawyer that can argue the case. And at the end of the day, if the court rules against us, we got a problem. Not the Highlands, we got a problem.
Thank you.
Recognize? Okay, hi, Judy Hernandez. I wasn't gonna get up, but I
Judy,
had
can you
to.
can you just please closer to the
I always
mic?
do this. I wasn't going to get up to speak, but after Nick did, I will. So, yeah, we did add affordable housing because that came due. But when you were mayor, you were talking about 3 times the amount of affordable housing. It was about 2,000 affordable housing. I have the presentation still on my computer. So when this council and the planning board, or some of this council was really great, working with the planning board on getting that number down significantly. And yeah, if you're in Highlands conformance, you probably do still have to do your affordable housing. But the key is, as Mr. DePiero said, is to work together and work with maybe the developers and try to get the best deal possible. The other thing I want to say is the Northscape is, the Breadbrook-Scape is going to be awesome, and it's good for the environment, it's good for bikers, it's good for walkers, it's good for Parsippany. And whoever was complaining about the federal government, well, again, a lot of great money here in Parsippany, $3.4 million for the wastewater pump and $600,000 for the reservoir.
We agree.
Yeah, good.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to, my
Your
name
name,
is James Gillespie. I just want to come here and talk about the budget too. Like James Barbario, I've been here since I've been 4 years old also. I grew up here, bought a house here, raised 3 children. My youngest daughter right now is a senior at Parsippany High School. And I feel like these budget increases are necessary at times, especially the economy has gotten crazy over the past couple of years, and you guys are still keeping debt, to 2.75, which is pretty tight. And I feel like that, just to let you guys know that someone has to step up at sometimes to say, sometimes we need a little budget increase. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Cassara Grosso, just taking a slight detour from all the budget speak.
Speak up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening, Cassara Grosso, taking a detour from the budget speaking. My company, Happy Days Boutique, is hosting an educational cannabis event at the Parsippany Public Library on Thursday, May 25th at 7 p.m. So I wanted to personally extend an invitation to the mayor, Township Council, and everyone in staff. I believe it would be beneficial for the community leaders to attend to not only gain additional insight on the topic, but to also observe an open discussion amongst all the residents here. We will have a panel of industry experts speaking on key topics and answering questions from the public. And I really look forward to seeing you all there. Thank
What
you.
is that date again, please?
It's Thursday, May 25th at 7 p.m.
Could you send that announcement to our township clerk and he can distribute it to us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
My name is Bob Venezia. Before I start, I'd like to thank Councilmember Musella for suggesting that the township hold departmental budget presentations. And thanks to the other council members for voting in favor for allowing them to occur. Unsurprisingly, the universal message expressed by all of the department heads was that there were no items that could be cut within their budgets. The administration reiterated a similar message, saying that any cuts made to the general budget as a whole would result in a corresponding loss of services to taxpayers, a trade-off that the administration is not willing to make. But as council members began asking questions about the various budgets, Councilmember Musella brought up two statistics that convinced me that there are items in this budget that can be cut, and that they can be done without any loss of services to the residents. First, I was very surprised to learn that the municipal staff numbers increased by 26 full-time and 40 part-time employees over the previous administration. To be fair, the 26 full-time number of employees must be adjusted downward because there's universal agreement that the proposed 14 extra policemen are necessary. But this still means that the previous administration was able to provide the same services, which we all say are great in Parsippany, with 12 fewer full-time employees and 40 fewer part-time employees. I'm not asking that any of these new employees be laid off from the 2023 budget, but I do expect to see a significant reduction in their numbers in 2024 due to attrition and staff redeployment. I am convinced that the second statistic can and should lead to reductions in this year's budget. There are 24 non-police vacant positions in the budget. These are positions that taxpayers are paying for, but no money is being spent in the form of salaries and benefits, and no services are being performed. In 2019, 3 sitting council members proposed cutting 13 vacant positions in order to lower taxes. Although after negotiations, I believe that only about 5 positions were actually cut. Now, we have 24 positions that fall into the same category. If cutting vacant positions that don't result in a loss of services was a good idea in 2019, then it should also be a good idea in 2023. I don't expect all 24 positions to be cut, but surely after negotiations, a good number of them can and should be eliminated, just like it happened in 2019. Thank you.
I'm gonna have Jamie Grine respond, because we went over this with regards to the vacant positions and, you know, the misinformation, so he can actually pretty much explain it.
Mr. Crine, please.
Thank you, Council President. I think there was a discrepancy in the numbers and the way that the numbers were achieved. The user-friendly budget is an incredible tool. It takes a 95-page document and whittles it down to about 14 or 15 pages. With that, it joins categories that may be better not joined, or it takes things, it simplifies things to the point where it confuses things. So you also have the people who are inputting that the data in the user-friendly budget doing things differently. So the numbers that Councilman Masella put out at the last meeting were from the 2021 user-friendly budget. Then the 2022 user-friendly budget was not included in those numbers, and then the difference was achieved with the 2023 user-friendly budget. So when you talk about 40 more part-time employees, that was more of a strategy difference, or a difference of opinion on how to do things, where in 21, when there was a different CFO, they handled things the way that they wanted to. In 2023, when you have our CFO, Len Ho, who's trying to handle things as above board as possible, you have 40 crossing guards included in the part-timer category, when the prior CFO may have included them in the seasonal category, which is not one of the boxes that are checked and able to be compared. So that's where you have some of these differences.
I think that just the methodology and classification was used differently from the previous CFO and the method we're currently using. I think majority of the discrepancy came from there.
Thank you.
But in just one question, just so we're on the same page, because at the end of the day, we can only make decisions based off of the information that we have. And if the information that's provided to us is in dispute or is incorrect, then it's on all of us, and especially the ones preparing these documents for us to review, to double check these numbers so there is no confusion. But the numbers that I was provided with today with respect to vacant positions, it shows that in this document, it says 43 full-time and 3 part-time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's from the document I sent you today.
So 43 today are budgeted full-time vacant positions, and 3 of those are part-time. Thank you.
Well, nobody mentioned the hiring freeze for 4 years, where the department heads could not replace anyone who left. Those were vacancies that needed to be filled. They're shorthanded. And we still haven't filled all those positions. Anybody drive through your neighborhoods and see some trees that are dead, not taken down yet? I see a lot of them. Parks and Forestry is shorthanded right now. They could not replace all the people that they needed. They're advertising now, but unfortunately, there are not too many tree climbers and people that are volunteering for some of those jobs. But we have vacancies that need to be filled. You can't just eliminate all those vacancies. They are needed. We had a hiring freeze for 4 years.
If I may add too, it was also stated by Mr. Walsh that there was an occurrence where he had to take 14 of his people from Parks and Forestry and have them collect garbage, working at a totally different job. So that particular day, nothing was getting done in the parks because 14 of his employees had to go pick up garbage because they're so short and they can't keep the employees because we're so short.
They were also needed for DPW for snow removal, because a large number of the Parks and Forestry guys have CDLs, which you need to do snow removal. And so he was even borrowing from the Parks and Forestry there to keep the streets clean. Again, he's shorthanded, and we need to replace those people that are vacant now in the budget.
Okay. Mr. Hiller?
Yes, my name is Hank Hiller, and I live in Parsippany for over 50 years. Thank you for the opportunity, Mrs. Gragnani, Mr. Mayor, and all of the town council people and executives. Just before I left from home tonight to come here, I read in Parsippany Patch that the budget negotiations between our mayor and Mr. Musella and others had yielded no changes. I'm just deeply disappointed in that. I've heard what Mr. DiPiero had to say and others of you, and I'm sure that what you're saying is accurate. I would like to say that I think that that we should really, in the future, rethink how we go about doing our budgeting. And what I mean by that is I think that the public should be invited to hear presentations of each of the department heads, not just some of them, so that we can understand exactly why it is that you say that we need this and we need that, so we can hear for ourselves as opposed to try to decipher what a newspaper article or a blog says, or what anybody else tells us. I think that would help us to have a great deal more transparency and have the ability to have a great deal more confidence in what is being presented to us. I've worked on budgets as both a business executive and a business owner, and I've never seen a budget presentation presented rather that could not be improved in some degree or other if the parties really wanted to coalesce. I'm sorry that we were not able to find some way to come to a closer understanding. Again, I'm also disappointed in the handling of this season because I think that this government is giving the Democratic Party a real shot at it, just as we have seen tonight in a certain sense. Okay, I would like for this group to be able to find a way to have the confidence of all the people, as opposed to have the divisiveness that I see happening in town at this time. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Heller.
Mr. Heller, if I may respond to your comment. Just so you know, we did, because I know I had given some recommendations to our finance committee, and I know that the budget was reduced to the 2.57%. So when you say, that beforehand, before the budget was at that 2.5%, we all gave recommendations and suggestions to make cuts and got it down to where we got it. But at that point, once we reached where we're at right now, that's where our CFO, that's where our BA and our auditor said, you can't go any lower.
If I can just reclaim the mic for 1 second, with no disrespect, that is the first comment that I've heard in this budget season that anybody has said that we have gone through this and we did reduce from what was originally asked. I haven't heard that before unless I misheard. My hearing aids don't always work.
I believe,
Mrs. Ragnani.
We said it many times.
Yeah, Mrs.
Go ahead.
Ragnani
I
did
didn't-
say, we had a meeting at the end of March, and the original budget came in at around 5%. But the finance committee, myself and Mrs. Ragnani, met with the mayor, the CFO, and the business administrator, and we, along with other council members, made recommendations.
With our auditor.
With our auditor, of course, I'm sorry. And, and the recommendation was that was way too much, and we had to make cuts, and that's where it got down to where it is now.
Okay.
I did not understand that. I don't know if other people understood that.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you, Mr.
Well,
Heller.
as regards to the Pats article, I didn't reach out to the Pats. They told me basically that Justin reached out to them and that they wanted a response from me. And usually I don't get, as you know, Mr. Heller, one thing I would say about you're very respectful. We did have a second meeting, and when we had the second meeting, I mentioned your name. I said, Mr. Heller came up to me after the meeting and said the process was good. So we did include the other departments. And really, in all reality, once I give the budget over, it's no longer my budget. It's the council's budget to decide how they want to have the meetings. And if they want to have them 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, that's up to them. I get blamed for it, but it's not my, and the same with cuts. If someone wants to make a cut, they got to make a recommendation and they have to get 3 votes.
Thank you,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a
thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward?
Bernie Clark, and I think there's going to be another public hearing
Yes.
section when you go to approve the budget. Is that
Yes.
correct?
That is
Okay,
correct.
that's the microphone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry. There's going to be another public
Yes, there is.
session.
There will be a public hearing on the budget,
Right,
Mr. Clark.
okay. In that case, I have a quick question. One of the other items on the agenda tonight is a no-bid contract to do what I assume are significant repairs at the sewer plant. Could you elaborate on how much approximately that will be for, and why it needs to be done with a no bid. Is it that much of an emergency? And it probably is.
It was related to the sewer plan, on the roofing of a sewer plan. The cost is about 220,000, and it was related to the sewer plan roof. It was done, it needs to be done on an emergency basis.
So it's a repair of the roof.
Correct.
All right, because, you know, when I look up the contractor, it's a sewer, it's not a roofing contractor, it's some type of sewer septic tank type contractor, Cupola. So that isn't quite computing, but why would a sewer contractor fix a roof?
Is that your only question?
For now, because
Okay.
I'm gonna have other questions during the budget session. Okay.
It was at the sewer plant. That's where the issue happened, and it was an emergency. It wasn't something that was planned or for vanity reasons. It was
All right, but
legitimate.
it sounds like if a roof needs to be fixed, you bring in a roofer, but, all right.
I think it was more than just a roof. That was
Well,
part of it.
I think so too. That's why I'm asking. But I will sit down now.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
Anybody else?
Anyone else would like to come forward? Okay. What's his name?
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Lapkowski,
Simon?
and I see so many nice people over there, nice team, but for some reason, only one person thinking about how to cut budget, not spending budget. All other ones, for some reason, want to just spend. Doesn't matter what. Probably, I think, if you like doing something at home, you thinking twice before start any project, because you know your budget, and it's like you can afford this or you cannot afford. Okay? And I remember the promises, Mr. Barbaria. It's like when we elect you, what you said? We're going to be like try to cut taxes.
You're absolutely
No?
correct. I can't wait to
Okay.
speak.
All right. But anyway, like,
Yeah.
you
Can't make it
try,
up.
and what you said, you try to like raise taxes?
No, that's
No?
not, I'm gonna tell you what I said when you're done
Okay,
speaking.
okay, maybe it's
Because
like,
you're now you're
rephrased,
misquoting
but the
me.
idea was the same.
I'm gonna set the record straight, so go ahead.
Okay, all right. And I just wanna ask you, why you not keep the promises, even like simple thing? Like, I sent during the weekend email to you with bunch of no, not bunch, just few questions about, because all information what I got from the article. All right? And I feel like I have a strong feeling that it's like nice people, but for some reason they're talking about kind of service. What kind of service? It's not a restaurant. Okay, you should work for us, and you should think about us. Okay? And, but I didn't see this. I'm sorry. It's like, and I have a question about affordable housing. What is this? Who's gonna pay for this? Me or other people? I'm not sure that people wanna do this. Maybe I'm not right, but I didn't get the
I'm waiting
answer
for you to
from
get
you.
finished, and I'm gonna answer.
Okay. And I have a feeling that these people, like what we have up front, it's like only one person, from my understanding, on our side, other one play like own game. I'm sorry, but it's my feeling.
Mayor, if I may, just,
Yes.
sir, I don't know, maybe, are you done?
Not yet.
Okay, keep going, we'll talk.
Not yet.
Okay.
Because, Mr. Paul, I saw bunch of the signs around the area with your like, for your election, tons of them. It's like, if you take a look, it's only Paul Carifi, Paul Carifi, Paul Carifi. I have a question. Why you wanna be the counselor? Why you wanna like so desperately want this position? My question is very simple, because I remember you was one of the who was disagree with residents about PLA it was end of the year and beginning of the year. You remember the meeting? You tried to argue with everybody who was against this.
I'll wait till you're done.
I'm done, okay,
You're
go
done?
ahead.
Okay. First off, in reference to the PLA, I believe the majority of the people that were at the meeting were in favor of the PLA, and I stated my reasons why I think it is a good thing. Many reasons why it is a good thing. But that's you know, that's not for tonight.
You'll move on.
Okay?
You're done.
The other thing is, sir, I guess you didn't hear what I said 5 minutes ago, that I know I made recommendations to the Finance Committee prior to the budget, after the budget was given, and we had a chance to all look at it and make our recommendations so that the budget could be reduced before it came out here. So when you say, oh, no one here wanted to reduce anything except for Mr. Musella, that's not true. We all made recommendations. Mr. Neglia just said that the budget originally was higher than what it was, than what it is, than the 2.5%. We cut it down to that. But once we got down to that point, again, our auditor, our CFO, and our business administrator, the professionals, the ones that do budgets all the time, stated you cannot go any lower, that it would be devastating to the town, to the financial well-being of the town. So that's where we stopped, but we did cut it down to that.
Yeah, I have one question.
Thank you.
And like Hank, Mr. Heller, I was surprised to hear that cuts were made. So can I specifically be informed as to what cuts we made to the budget to get it from the 5% to the 3.76 that it is today?
Mr. Klein?
There were multiple rounds of cuts. The cuts started even before I got here.
No, I understand, but
Yeah,
is there
each department had cuts, significant cuts.
No.
So by the time it got to the council, it was an incredibly tight budget.
No, I understand that,
And I
Mr.
think
Klein.
our auditor can speak to that too. It can explain how tight that budget is.
My question is, it was just mentioned that the council made cuts to this budget to take it from 5% to the 3.76% that it is now. So I'd like to know what cuts were made to bring it down.
I can just state that when I spoke to departments, I made recommendations. I said, listen, you need to cut this down as much as we can, and that's what they did. That's exactly what they
Specifically
did.
did we all
They
cut?
did it?
They did cut it down.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we get numbers on what was cut?
Okay, here's what, okay.
Mayor, would you
I'll
like to
let
speak?
Councilman finish first.
Yeah, no, I just would like to know
Yeah,
what.
Okay, with regards to the 5.1%, that's what it was. Everybody on this council knew it was 5.1%, when it first came, and then, and I think Loretta, you said it at several meetings, that it was 5.1% prior to that. We got it down to 3.76, the tax levy, and the tax rate was 2.57%. I know that Parks and Forestry, the DPW cut more out of their budget. And that's why they're saying in the second round, they cannot go anymore. Now, with regards to the comment that you made, sir, with regards that I said, I'm gonna cut. If you remember my campaign, and I don't know if you do, and maybe the people that speak to you can remind you.
Remember, I'm waiting for you.
So here's the thing, this is exactly what I said. No matter who the mayor is, there's going to be a tax increase in 2022. And I drew out, I explained why there would be one. Because you wouldn't be able to run the town going forward. The town would be in a hole coming into 2022 because revenues were over anticipated. I said that. I said if Mayor Sariano would have won, he would have had no choice because the town would not have been able to function. I was clear last year. Now I don't remember seeing you at any meetings last year, and not one, that when we increased the tax levy by 14.63%, I explained why it had to be, but the actual tax rate was 3.1, and that's what your taxes went up. The town would not have been able to function. And I said that from day one. I saw it in 21 when I was running, and I don't know who's telling you I said certain things, because I did not. I was up front, and I'm gonna be up front, and you know what? Sometimes people, and I've noticed it in this term, they get mad at me because I tell them the truth. And I'm telling you the truth. So whoever told you I said that, they should come up here and I can question them instead. If you have a question, you can always contact me in my office.
I contacted you.
So, no, I never got a phone call from you, but you want to come in? I'll show you the budget.
I don't have a time.
Okay, and I get that, but don't call me out for something I never said. Because I never said that. I never said that. I never said that because I knew the situation the town was in. We just got out of COVID.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
I just don't want to be called out, and we can talk later on.
Yeah,
sorry.
thank you, Ms.
I
Polsky.
have a question about what I
Thank you,
don't
Mr.
have.
Say your
Polsky.
time's up.
Thank you. Your time has been up. Sorry.
Thank you very little.
Thank you. Very little.
Again, before we get to the resident, a really important point was made, and it was a action that took place without my input and my knowledge, that we took this budget from 5.1% to 3.76%. That would suggest almost $1 million in cuts were made to the budget. So can I get a copy of what cuts we made to bring it down? Is that going to be possible?
But I would ask you, at the time, when you got your budget book, did you go to these department heads and say, this is too high, and make recommendations? Or to the finance committee to make recommendations?
Or to the
Or to the auditor for things to be cut?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to...
So some of your things may have been part of that.
Well, let's talk about what was and what wasn't. Let's get a copy of what actions you took to bring the budget down, because if you guys did bring it down $1 million and we still have a long way to go, that would suggest we left some meat on the bone. But I think for the residents, and some of whom have been surprised to hear that cuts were made, I think it's important to know what $1 million was removed from the budget.
And it's not so much, as you like to use the term, the political term, which is meat on the bone. There was no meat on the bone. That department is going to suffer. That's what's going to happen. They wanted to, abide, but they couldn't go any further. So when you use the word meat on the bone, there is no meat on the bone. You've been told this on several occasions. But you just want to have the accolade to say, I cut $1 million, I did this and that, without knowing the effects that's coming into next year. And you and I had that conversation. You took me separately on the side after a meeting, and you said to me, let's be transparent now. You said to me, just give me $1 million. That's when I knew then, had nothing to do with the taxpayers, had to do more so is that you wanted to be able to say you made $1 million cut. I said, I can't do that. But you have the ability as a councilman to say to the council, I want to cut a certain amount of money, and you need to get 3 votes. That never happened. Not since I've been in these meetings. But that's beside the point. We made those cuts, and Valerie, you can get us that information, and so can Len, and you can get it to just Mr. Masella. I have no issue with that whatsoever, okay? But this process has become more political and political and political, that, it's getting to a point now where we stated our case. I sent the budget in, and like Mr. Heller said, it's getting complicated. It doesn't have to be this complicated. With regards to the budget, I handed it in, and now the council has to make the decisions. And I think they made their decisions already. So we have another meeting, which was good. I got to tell you, I enjoyed having contact with the residents. The way it was ran, the way it was organized, it was perfect. Residents got to get their concerns out, and then they followed up with questions, which I'll be reading in tonight. They followed up with questions to the administrator and to Len Ho, and that's the way the process should work. We used to have budget meetings that were, you didn't get out of here till 1 in the morning, and you really got nowhere. But the way it was set up this time, I tell you right now, I'm looking forward to next year.
Yes, of course, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Just need you speaking to the mic, ma'am. Need you
My
speaking to the
name
mic.
is Victoria Stockdale, and I'm here tonight to call out on a couple of issues and make you fully aware of some problems that is happening in our country today. I'm a registered nurse by profession. I went to Northeastern University and I graduated in 1990. My first job was at Children's Hospital in Boston. After working a year, I came to New York to be with my friends because I felt isolated. And within that year, the next year, I worked at New York Hospital, which is now Columbia Presbyterian. So some of the institutions that I've worked with over the years, I've worked for very prestigious and very prominent workplaces, and I've been very fortunate to work around a lot of people, a lot of celebrities. I've learned a lot, and a lot of people that I've met in the industry as patients, as common people, have enlightened me and told me that I need to speak out on issues that I feel very close to. And one thing I fully believe, and my parents taught me because I am from Alabama, a very, very small town in Alabama, about 30 miles north of Birmingham. My father, Charles Stockdale, was a part of the civil rights marching with Dr. King. And he taught us, you have to speak up. You have to enlighten people in what is happening today. My son, Zachary, is 17 years old, has autism and ADHD. While we continue to go through problems and situations, and I've told the mayor, I've told several people, the police here in Parsippany have been very nice and accommodating to situations which sometimes have gotten out of control. And I hope Zachary does not ever be a statistic, as like in New York, which recently happened within the last 6 weeks. My issue is that we need affordable housing. I lost my job in 2018 from a hospital, and one of the administrators told me, this is a hospital for business, not a place of social services for you and your son. I ended up being homeless, and any one of you, let me tell you, when you go from making $120,000 a year to being absolutely homeless and have to sleep in your car is a very enlightening situation, and no one should ever, ever, ever be homeless. All of you should be in that position just to see how it feels. It is not a pleasant situation, and I shrivel. I get goosebumps just thinking about what I've been through. Another aspect is that I'm pleading for each and every one of you to be enlightened to the current situation of Black women dying. This is the most dangerous country to have a child. Approximately 26.4% of Black women are dying in this country due to maternal mortality. And one of the examples is that I spoke to her about a week ago, Dr. Shalone Irving. If you Google her name, she was a doctor. She had two PhDs. She worked for the Center for Disease Control. Shortly after having a child, she went home after a doctor's appointment, and she sat down in a chair, and she had complained to her doctors that she had a headache, and it was ignored. She was just told, oh, you just had a baby, go home and relax. When she went home, she raised her hands up in the air, and she soon died. This is an alarming rate. Would this happen to a white woman that lives in Norway or Sweden? No. And the numbers.
You have 1 minute.
The statistics say that this is the most dangerous place to have a child. I have a child. There is not affordable housing here in America. A lot of my friends who are nurses, doctors, they're moving out of state. This is not the desirable place to live. It is not affordable. Another issue is that there's no work-life balance. We really need to have that. We need to have time to balance out, to spend time with our children, to elevate. But when you live in affordable housing or housing, I have a one-bedroom apartment. I pay $1,500 a month. That is not affordable housing. It is one bedroom. I sleep in a chair in my living room so my son can have a space. It is not affordable housing. Now, I'm not a business person. I'm not anybody special, but I can tell you, when you live under certain situations and certain accommodations, it is not comfortable. I ask and I plead with each and one of you to change this and be a part of this.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. How are you? Chris Connell, lifetime resident of Parsippany. You know, we talk about budgets and we talk about money as if it's just an object that's out there and magically you can just move things around. There's staples that are across that have to be done. You need your police, you need your maintenance, you need your mayor's office, his workers and such. So when you look at the budget, a lot of people don't look that the biggest part of budgets are your labor, and a lot of it goes to repairs and such of maintenance of machines, trucks, etc. A few thoughts on maybe saving money would be possibly if they go to automated garbage trucks in certain areas. There's a big problem with, I know a lot of the gentlemen with this sanitation, it's a tough job. So maybe you need to go to automated, where it's one truck, nobody gets out of the truck, and it can be done in powder mill, it can be done, areas that aren't condensed. That could be a savings. Another savings is, I don't know if you have the paperwork, but the vegetation leaf removal of the towns, it probably is excess of 200,000 or better. Now, down at Sharkey's Dump, we have a small area that we use for leaves and such, and if you were to outsource that, you would be making money off of your recycling center. It's done in other towns. I'm in that industry, so I know it. You probably spend maybe 200,000 to 400,000. I don't know if that is a number that's in your head, but you could get that down to zero. You need about 6 acres. You get down to zero, you actually would be making money from the contractor that would be running it on an average of 6,000 to 8,000 a month. It's done in other towns, and it's done across the board. It's just a thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Connor.
Chris.
We are looking at automating of garbage. It's called the one-arm bandit, and I think that's what you're talking about. I think it's on hold right now, due to, a possible lawsuit we're gonna have with a certain area in town here with regards to having to pick up garbage for another, apartment complex. So that's on hold for now. And as for the recycling center, as you're saying, we don't own the recycling center. That's owned by the Morris County Utilities Authority.
No, the contractor.
Right, and I know what you're saying.
That's adjacent to
Yeah,
the.
and we are exploring shared services with other towns with regards to our courts and also with regards to our dispatch. So those things are in the work.
And animal control.
Yeah, and animal control. So we're gonna go out and explore. But, one of the things, that we are looking is, economic development in the town where we need to increase our ratables, and that's gonna turn, we're gonna have a good forecast in 24, 25, but those have to come on board. But the one-arm bandit, and we did look at the powder mill area to start it in. And then hopefully we can segue it all the way through the entire town. Because we also know by privatizing garbage, it's gonna cost us more.
I didn't mean privatize.
No, I know, but I'm saying that, you didn't say that about garbage, but I'm talking about garbage, to privatize it would actually cost us more because, as you know, the rate of inflation is up, so it also is for the garbage industry.
Here's another thought is,
Speak closer to the mic, sir.
with the police department,
Chris, I can't have you going back and forth.
Yeah.
You've already said your piece.
If I may, Mayor, Mr. Connell seems to know what he's talking, with this, the leaf and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can meet with me.
You could have a meeting with you and maybe
Yeah.
Mr. Cryan and
Sure.
you can explain that.
This guy was a good field goal kicker at Parsippany High, he was the best.
Maybe you could meet with the mayor and Mr. Cryan and explain that to him, because you seem to have a lot of knowledge with that, so
No problem.
it's worth
Thank you
exploring.
for coming and sharing your ideas.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else like to? Sure.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Janius Quintana. I'm a resident. I noticed that most of the residents were talking about the budget and they were kind of concerned. As a resident, yes, it's money coming out of your pocket, but also it's needed. And in every job, every year you get an increase. And not only because you get a promotion, is because the cost of living. So, and it goes across the board for everything. Prices go high and you gotta make up for it. That's a fact, that's a simple reason. So I don't understand really the increase in the budget isn't 15%, isn't 10%. How much is 2.5?
2.57.
For the 12,000 property taxes would be $300 a year, which is 25 a month. That's
Sir,
not
it's actually $8.33 a month.
even better, even less. So what are we talking about here? I mean, and
It's on the
not for
averages.
nothing, but most of the people that are standing up are people that have like 60, over 60,
Mr. Catano, would you please talk to us?
over 60. So they already have took advantage, their kids, of the educational system in our town. I know, my kid is in preschool right now, in kindergarten. So I'm starting to get advantage of the educational system, which is part paid by the property taxes. Another thing is the gentleman that was talking about the PLA. I don't know where to go. He was asking for what good reason that it was good. And I'm a resident. I'm a carpenter, unit carpenter. I would love to be part of that. I would love to work in my town and spend the money that I gain back in my town. So that's a very good reason.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Catano.
Good evening.
Your name,
I feel
please?
like it's a,
Excuse me.
my name is Ivan Ferris. I feel like it's a discrepancy in the number of employees, like one person say this, one person say that. Why don't we give it a second thought and see what jobs we can eliminate, and that bring us to a better budget? And also, that's all I have to say, because I live in Parsippany for so many years, and the services that we have are excellent, and we actually don't want to cut any of it. But the only way I think that we can cut the numbers of employees, that will be a good idea. But just to like Elon Musk did, he cut the budget 80%. So maybe if we give it a second thought, we can do the same thing. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Seeing no one come forward, might make a motion, please, to close the meeting.
Motion to close.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Second reading and public hearing, ordinance 2023:6, ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank for calendar year 2023 pursuant to NJSA 40A:40-4514. The notice for ordinance 2023:06 was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, on April 24th, 2023, and introduced at the April 18th, 2023 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2023:6 be heard in their second and final reading by title only, made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2023:6 made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
So the floor is open to speak on this ordinance only. You have 5 minutes to speak. Okay, seeing no one?
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Make a motion to close public hearing for ordinance 2023:6.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2023:6 made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public,
Before we have the public hearing on our 2023 budget, I'd like to ask our auditor from Nisavacia, Valerie Dolan, please. Please come up and speak. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Valerie Dolan. I'm from Nisavacia. We are the auditing firm for Parsippany-Troy Hills. A few comments that I'd like to make about the budget before the hearing gets open. This budget this year was reviewed in addition to being reviewed by myself and being signed off, it was actually reviewed by the Division of Local Government Services, and they've also given you the okay to adopt your budget without any major changes, that they were comfortable with the budget as it stands. The budget that's presented tonight is a budget that's within the statutory limits. It's inside your appropriations cap. It is within your levy cap required by the state of New Jersey. This budget is also, the way I see this budget, it's a continuing rebuilding of the financial picture of the township. This rebuild is going to take time, as we saw last year, and this is a continuation, but you are on a fiscal path to rebuilding the township from some lower budgets. I commend the efforts this year by all those parties involved to put together a budget that's well-balanced and thoughtful and on the residents. And the township was dealing not only with your own township, you were dealing with several large state-mandated increases in the areas of pension and those costs that you could not control. And while you did that, you also chose to increase your public safety and work through your own budget. And you did those things all while not eliminating any of the services to the residents of Parsippany. This budget was actually reviewed at length, and having 2 public hearings prior to tonight hopefully helped bring even further transparency to yourselves and to the residents of the township. Last year, there was a concern with pushing things, as we said, kicking the can further along. This is continuing in that trend to stop that pushing forward, and you've taken some major strides to get yourselves on that right path and facing head-on your difficult position that you're in to go forward. The biggest takeaway that I can say from this budget this year is, as everyone had said before, that I had said you'd reach to your point. You're not getting anywhere where you're sacrificing a future budget. As we all talked about further cuts, I know it came up several times tonight, about having those cuts. And there was a point where I think the administration and myself kind of said we need to stop, because at that point you were starting to kick the can into future budgets. And I felt it was best for you to stay in the course where those future budgets could still be rebuilt, because if you took major cuts, you might not have been in that same position, and I would hate for you to revert yourself back to the year prior where you had such a very large increase. So this increase that you're seeing, we audit over 90 municipalities in the state of New Jersey plus 3 counties. This is a common number that we're seeing increases in the budget. Yes, there are some that are flat, but they have no capital plan. There are some that are also flat, that we're eliminating services. You've done none of those things, so you are to be commended with this budget. I'm here if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
I'd like to entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Okay, the floor is open to the public. You have 5 minutes to speak, only on the budget.
Are there any statements from our council or our administration before we open it to the public? Would you like?
You opened the
okay.
public already, you can't.
Already open the public, have to wait until after.
Okay. Public is invited. Yes, please come.
Bernie Clark again. Last week I asked basically 3 questions about the budget. I really didn't get answers on the first 2, and the third one was nebulous. So, under the executive or mayor's office, salaries are up 53% over last year's actually charged. Likewise, under the administration, which I assume is a business administrator and associated people, the salaries are up by 24% over last year, or this 2022. And then finally, I brought up the salary adjustment line of 750,000. So I'd like to start with the 750,000. Mayor, you did mention that you had, I believe, 4 union contracts. Well, that is true, I'm sure. I don't doubt that. However, I looked over the budgets as far back as one can find them on the website. There's never been a $750,000 salary adjustment line. Hopefully you would agree with that.
Well, that includes legal fees as well.
Are you
That was
finished?
the question.
No.
Okay, I'll let him finish, yeah.
Well, includes legal fees is a whole other story, and, I find it somewhat troublesome to have this nebulous ball of 750,000 that's never been there before, sitting in the budget, and maybe it is for, it should be pushed out to, at least most of it should be pushed out to where it belongs, on the various lines where the unions are. And then for the salaries, those 2 specific questions, I'd like to get specific answers.
Okay. You want to start, you want Len?
Oh, before Len starts, Mayor and Council President, we are going through 4 contract negotiations, as you said. One of the most important parts of negotiations is making sure that the money's budgeted, and making sure that you're negotiating from, if we did it the way that you're talking about and putting it line by line and saying, for the PBA, we're going to allocate this much money, the PBA is going to ask for that much money.
Well, they already know
we
they're
have to
gonna
make
ask
sure
for it,
that there
honestly.
is a little bit of
Never
intrigue
has there been a
when you're
number.
dealing with negotiations.
Never has there
And
been a number.
thank God, the four
Mr.
units that we have going, that we're bargaining with right now, things are going well. We anticipate being done with them in the next few months, and we anticipate everybody leaving the table very happy. And that's the goal with that. As far as the budgeting or the salaries in the administration department, there is, and Len can speak to this as well, we are going through this budget and treating this budget as we're cleaning up everything that we can possibly clean up. And we're doing things, as Len talked about earlier, with from a strategic point of view and trying to get things taken care of the way that we are doing it. From the administration, in the administration department, there's an added IT person that we're bringing on. That's one of the divisions in the administration department. Now, there's going to be a retirement, but we don't want to allow for, brain drain and allow this person to leave and then replace them afterwards. So there's a half of a salary allocated, and that's one of the things that's allocated. There's a few other positions that are coming together to make up that amount.
How about on the mayor's line?
The
executive
The
line.
questions answered? Have you had your questions answered, sir?
No, he has 2 more to go.
Executive line
Two more?
wasn't answered.
Okay.
2 more to go.
So some of those changes we looked into, it was due to personnel transfers and some headcount adjustments. Some headcounts were charged to the wrong department, so we had to make those corrections as we came along. I've been a CFO for less than a year, and I discover changes as I see that needs to be made. So there was some headcounts that was just completely charged to a different department. So as we see them, we pick them up, we made those corrections.
I hear your words. I just scratch my head a little bit because 2022 was the same administration. So I will leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark.
There's less employees now in the mayor's office than there were a year ago or 2 years ago. I think that's clear.
It is, 'cause I got 1 person in there. I didn't have 4.
Nicholas Homiak again. The gentleman with the good idea about the recycle of sanitation, And this town is very lax in enforcement, and they could be making money on it. And I've said it 1,000 times, the disciplines in source separation in this town and all over are a disgrace for a country that claims to be so patriotic. I would hope, and I don't understand why the water and sewer surplus is still being used for other purposes. And the recent major collapse of our water infrastructure or repairs that needed to be made and the money not being there, I think former Councilman Janice McCarthy explained the financial situation of Parsippany. And you're right, it's chump change, but people are faced with other things. They're faced with the housing, the medical care. This country just doesn't care about its common people. But Parsippany has a water deficit of between 1 and 7.11 billion gallons a day. Water infrastructure has to be maintained and kept, and if the rateable chase is done Parsippany, such a great thing, then why do we need water and surplus for tax patches? It makes no sense. Water is a public trust. It's been a public trust since Roman times, which means money in the fund for water and sewer, which involve water, should be a public trust, not a Republican or a Democratic political tool. Certain things are beyond politics, like ecology and nature and where all life comes from, and sustainability. And, you know, when Mayor Soriano tried to get his minor tax raise less than $5, everybody voted against it. They voted against it. And I remember you saying, hold on to your wallets when you were running for the mayor.
I did.
And now, but very few people have come up. But in both cases, it's chump change we're talking about. We're talking about a minor contribution to a common good. So the key is to keep the good in the common. And we shouldn't be using water and sewer surplus monies for tax patches. That's the thing that, you know, I think is the worst thing about the budget. That you know, what do you call it, a shell game has to go on. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Javier.
Seeing no one else?
Mike Pulsinelli. I've been working in Parsippany close to 45 years. I've dealt with every mayor in 45 years, every council person, you name it. I think the budget that this council and the mayor and the administrator and the CFO and this young lady over here has worked on is a solid budget. Our office is right here in Parsippany. I work on this stuff. I'm not a CFO. I'm not a financial guy. Our company's worth over $1 billion. So I do know a little bit about funds. So I think, you know, nobody wants anything to be raised. Understood. But if you want your town to operate, which everybody here wants it to operate, they cut things. Everybody was issued the budget. Everybody had a chance to review the budget. When Justin says he wants to know where the tax cuts were, I guess he didn't read the budget. And not only that, he doesn't even pay taxes in this town. Most of us are homeowners. He doesn't pay taxes in this town. He rents an apartment. So he wants to get behind this big paper bag curtain and be a hero to say, I'm going to save the town $1 million. The people that stand behind him better wake up, because he hasn't a clue of what he's talking about. Thank you.
I would like to respond since the resident mentioned my name, and thank you for sharing how you feel about this budget. on behalf of the renters, we do pay taxes because it's baked into the leases that we pay. And I think you know that as a smart business person. When you pay a lease, and that goes to the taxes that are on the property. So thank you for bringing that up. But secondly, we're talking about alternatives, and that's what we're here to do. My sole job is to come up with solutions and to develop policies that will improve the overall quality of life of town. Putting new eyes onto this budget revealed that our edits that we can make, edits as it relates to the vacant positions. And it's not my goal to tax you, your business, and everybody else in here $1 more than they need to be taxed. And when we are allocating money for people who aren't showing up to work, how could services be impacted? So I get what you're saying, and I appreciate the dialogue, but we have to look at solutions where the answer can't be year in and year out to raise the taxes over and over again, because the people here are not an inexhaustible source of revenue for this township.
I'll answer the question with regards to the positions not being filled. And we're not handling everything because those positions have not been filled. We're doing the best that we can because we're short-handed and we're short-staffed. And I gotta bring it up again, like Councilman Karifi said. We're transferring workers from DPW to go to sanitation. That's not something we want to do. And sometimes you gotta bring them into the road department because we were down how many employees, and those are the vacant positions you're talking about. We need to fill them. We need to fill them, but if you take them out of the budget and then all of a sudden you have to fill them, look what happened to the PD. When I left in 2016, well, 17, excuse me, we had 103 to 106 police officers. We came back to 81 deployable. And that money was not in the budget. So then it had to be raised in the budget. Because if they didn't take it out of the budget, which would have been a retiree, making probably 120, 130 to hire a new person at 42 to begin with, we wouldn't be in the trouble we're in when it comes to the police department. This year, we couldn't hire any police officers because why? We were capped. So keep cutting the budget more, you'll be even capped even further going into next year. The auditor said it. She couldn't make it any more clear. You continue to cut, you want a $2 million cut, you're gonna have to make it up next year. We need to run this town efficiently. Okay, the gentleman in the back made a comment with regards to the cost of living. We give, what, 2% raises out. The rate of inflation right now is 7.1%. So I think we're doing a good job, doing a very good job. And to sit here and say that, oh, you know, there's positions to be cut. And I'm gonna get into that when I read my statement. Okay, with regards, no matter what, I'm gonna listen to my professionals. One thing I've learned about being a business administrator as well as a mayor, I have professionals. I have the auditor, I have the business administrator, and I believe I have one of the best CFOs in the state of New Jersey. When I worked in Tewksbury, I said, if I won being mayor, I'm taking you with me. And for a reason. Now, we're gonna be redoing our budgets to, and you know, with regards to what Mr. Clarkin said, it can get confusing. We wanna make it more work with this system called Edmunds. You don't have to have these big books here that get so confusing. You're actually gonna get a printout every year. And anytime a council member asks, hey, how much have we spent here? All we're gonna do is press a button, and you know how much we spent at this time. So, I'm gonna go with my professionals. That's what I'm gonna go with. I've been doing this for years.
Seeing no one else? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you, council, for letting me speak this evening. My name's Robert Hopkins. I work through the EAS Council of Carpenters. I've worked in this community for a lot of years, and with a lot of the guys in the room tonight. Also, Mayor Barbario, really appreciate your dedication to this community and your dedication for your lifelong service to this community. We heard the auditor's report, and like you stated, that's why we depend on professionals to give us those reports to provide the best responsible fiduciary responsibility to our members in our communities. We do the same in our business, how we operate our business. I applaud you for doing that and surrounding yourself with a great team of people who look out for each and every person who live in this community. teams win, and also, like you said, you had a vision. When you became mayor again, you went out and hired the best people you could to provide the best services to this community. As my father once told me, Mayor, that's why the windshield's big and the mirror's small. We look where we're going, not where we've been. I think you have a great vision to bring business back to this community, bring corporations back with the EDA development in this community. We need those corporations to come back to provide opportunities to white-collar jobs, blue-collar jobs, and all people in the community. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Hank Heller, and now I've come because I'm really upset. I'm really upset that we have people who come in here, and they may do business here and they may not do business here. But I think that it's important that we all express ourselves with respect toward each other. And I think that the process that we have gone through here in Parsippany over these past few months has been outstanding. I was very, very strongly, and still am, against the PLAs. You know that because I spoke to you about it. I let you know what I felt. You voted to do something else, and I respect that, and I walked away from the problem, okay? But I'm very offended that people come here tonight, okay, and point out that either Mr. Musella or Mr. Karifi or any of you, okay, have not done the right thing, when I think that what has been done here is the most right thing that I've seen in many years in Parsippany, and that is we questioned ourselves. It wasn't just that everybody said, okay, we're in this together, and the people who live in town don't have anything to express nor to say, okay? Instead, I see a lot of people here that I've seen, some of them I've seen in the past at other meetings over at the Parsippany Hills High School. I was very resentful when we had a huge number of people from the unions who did live in town to come and put pressure on what was happening. I know that many people did not come, and many people would not speak because they are intimidated. I am not intimidated, and I don't want our government to be intimidated. And I want everybody to know that what we've done here has been the most right thing. Yes, Mr. Musella has asked hard questions, and you've given him hard answers. And I think that that's to be respected. But I don't think we should be pushed around by anyone, sir, okay? Or anybody who comes along with busloads of people. And I thank you for your time.
Anyone else come forward? Seeing no one come forward?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I got a motion by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Resolution 2023-078, resolution to amend the introduced budget. Motion to adopt the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
No.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
And, Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Motion passes.
R 2023-079, authorize the 2023 municipal budget to be read by title only. Motion to adopt the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
No.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
4-1, motion passes.
R 2023-080, resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany, adoption of the 2023 budget. Motion to adopt the resolution made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. At this time, I believe it would be appropriate to call for discussion, given that we may have council members and members of the administration that may like to say something. Would that be appropriate, Council President?
Please.
Okay, floor is yours.
Open to the mayor first.
Mayor, would you like to speak?
Sure, I'll start it off. And believe me, I might respond back to certain council members if, yeah, take a drink here real quick. Thank you, Council President. First and foremost, I want to thank the Chief Finance Officer, Len Ho, Business Administrator Jamie Cryan, our auditors, the Finance Committee, the council, our department heads, and most importantly, all of the residents who either attended our 2 budget workshops or reached out with thoughtful comments. Our budget process allows any interested resident to be better informed, and I've always said that the process works best when our residents ask questions and communicate their ideas. As I said, Mr. Heller, you and I spoke, and I really did enjoy the process. I enjoyed the way it went, and that's the way it's supposed to go. And after the meeting, when you came up to me, you know, you really was in my mind to have another one. The budget the council will voted on tonight is a fiscally prudent, structurally balanced budget that corrects the course of the past and puts Parsippany back on sound financial footing. As our auditor said, we're not kicking the can down the road. The overall increase, and you all know the tax rate is 2.57%, and the local tax rate increase is 3.76%. That's $100 annual municipal impact to the average residential home, or $8.33, which was discussed many times. We are putting forward a responsible, balanced budget that provides the services our community deserves, and we have worked hard to minimize the amount of increase while dealing with significant nationwide economic impacts and external influence. And I bring this up for a reason, because at the last meeting, it was said that we can't base our budget based on the national rate of inflation. Well, that's not true. That's what we base it on, because when there's inflation the way it is now, prices go up, gas goes up, salt goes up, all the things go up. It's hard for us to even get a vehicle or to get a part for a vehicle. And that's due not just to inflation, that's due to COVID-19. The process started last year with individual meetings with our department heads, and there have been multiple cuts to each department. We have answered questions from members of the public and on multiple occasions, and have met with less informed members of the council to help them understand the process that I believe they don't clearly understand. We have taken every suggestion seriously and reviewed each with the finance team, auditors, and the department heads to see if there were possible cuts. We considered all possible suggestions and clarified the reasons when it was not possible, and we felt when the suggestion wasn't real. The important part to remember is that this budget is built on a strong financial foundation that proves we can meet our responsibilities to serve our residents today while preparing for the future. Like all of our residents, the township feels the impact of the national economy, current extraordinary inflation, but this budget does not kick the can down the road, like I said before, like some have done in the past and like some would want us to do. Most importantly, this budget does not play politics with people's lives. Along with the council president, Greg Nanny, we met with Councilman Justin Masella on 2 occasions. Well, she wasn't on the first occasion, and we did our best to help him understand how we see the budget. After consulting with our BA, our CFO, and auditors and pertinent department heads, it was clear that the proposed cuts were not realistic and would have a harmful impact on our town. And I do want to say this, although Justin and I don't agree, I do respect his opinion on the budget. We all have different opinions, like Mr. Heller said, and sometimes we cannot have a compromise, although we tried to have one. My goal is to ensure we are providing a fiscally responsible budget for today and for years to come. Budget decisions must make Parsippany a strong community today as well as 5+ years from now. And I'm proud to say that I believe this budget reflects those values. The Finance Committee, our professionals, have worked hard to provide the residents with a responsible budget that is responsive to their needs. This budget protects the services our residents depend on and continues investing in Parsippany's future, all while shouldering the burden of an extraordinary inflation, significant increases in non-discretionary spending. We are putting forward a responsible, balanced budget that provides the services our community deserves through investments of our public safety, first responders, our infrastructure, and economic growth. I want to thank the whole team for their hard work. I want to thank the council for their leadership. In closing, because some comments were made to members of the public, one thing I will be is very upfront and candid, and I have to be, because I've learned one thing: if you're not truthful to the residents, it just doesn't work out right. I'll always will be truthful. I will tell you the truth, why this budget's a good budget, why we had to do what we did when we came in. As the auditor knows, when I became the mayor, we sat down and we knew that Parsippany was in a bad financial way. And we had a meet with Moody's Standard and Poor, and I was concerned that we were gonna lose, our bond rating, it was gonna go down. We were pretty much told our bond rating would go down, in December of 2022. But when they saw the turnaround of the township in January 24th, I can remember the date, January 24th, 2023, they saw a very positive outlook for Parsippany. So if we want to continue to make cuts and have zero balanced budgets, we can do that, but we need to recover first, and we're not in that recovery mode yet. I'm not going to kick the can down the road. I'm not going to do special dispensation. I'm not going to do any of those things. We have to be realistic with our budget. We have to be realistic with our residents. I love this town, and when someone comes up and tries to make bad comments about the town, believe me when I tell you, I'm going to be the first one to confront you. This town's a great town. We do a lot of great services for our residents, for our seniors, for our families. Okay, 24% of your budget is municipal. We don't control the other portions of the budget, but at the same time, we try to help each other out. And I'm gonna say this, people came here a few weeks ago and wore a shirt that to me was despicable. They wore a shirt that they should have never been worn. You have a problem, you come up and confront me. I would never do that type of politics on anybody. Just wouldn't do that. With that being said, none of them ever had the guts to come up to me and tell me why they're wearing that shirt. Because I would have had answers for them they would not have liked. So thank you and have a good night.
Mr. Neglia?
Thank you. I have worked on budgets in the private and public sector for my entire career, many in excess of $100 million. Between my time on a school board and as your councilman, I have worked on 17 budgets for the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. The most important thing I try to remember is that whether it be our residents or our employees, there are people behind the numbers. People who rely on their jobs, the services we provide, and people who perform those services. About 220 employees are residents of Parsippany-Troy Hills. That's over 41% of the township employees. To suggest cutting services or potentially laying off employees for political purposes is irresponsible and not something I will be part of. Municipal governments are under constant pressure to deliver services more efficiently, and here in Parsippany, less than 25 cents of the total dollar funds the township services. That is pretty extraordinary considering the sheer numbers of services provided. By far, the most in the county. I think this process was transparent. It gave us the opportunity to hear from the public and discuss further with the professionals and council members and get good explanations. I will support this budget because I believe that Mayor Barbario has proposed a fiscally prudent, structurally balanced budget that corrects the course of the past and puts Parsippany back on sound financial footing. Thank you.
Mr. Vasella, would you like to
Sure,
say?
thank you. And before I read my statement, I would just like to also reiterate back to what the mayor had said, is that although at times we disagree publicly and passionately, we respect one another, and we don't allow that to interfere with the business of running the town. So with that said, I'm going to read my no statement. I ran on a campaign promise to end the practice of overburdening taxpayers with large tax increases. It was unacceptable for the previous administration to raise taxes at these levels with no thought on the impact it would have. It is also unacceptable for this administration to do the same. I presented a specific plan to make the budget more acceptable and bring back fiscal responsibility to our township, but this fell on deaf ears. I worked hard to find a compromise with the administration and was disappointed that no aspects of my proposal were entertained. I voted no on last year's budget as it was out of touch and totally unreasonable, and I'll vote no on this budget for the exact same reason. Taxpayers need to see budgetary restraint in leadership now more than ever. I hope my colleagues on the council join me in voting no on this budget and supporting my call for serious consideration on further cuts.
Mr. DePiero?
Our responsibility as mayor and council is to find a balance between safety, quality of life, services, and taxes. To only concentrate on taxes is short-sighted and irresponsible. We need to be concerned about the township's bond rating. It would affect our costs in the future. We want to keep our senior citizen busing, because many of them don't have transportation and need to get to shopping centers. We cannot cut all those vacancies from our budget. They are vacancies because our department heads were not allowed to rehire in many cases. Those vacancies need to be filled. And we need to provide the increase for employees at 2%. It's modest. It's way below cost of living, but it's something we need to do. So in order to meet all of our requirements, there's compromise. We did compromise in this budget. We did cut it from 5% on down. And it's the best budget we could come up with at this point in time. Everything else has gone up. Benefits have gone up. Gas has gone up. The price of materials have gone up. And for us to have just a 2.5% increase to the homeowners is as prudent as we could be at this point in time.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith?
Thank you. I just want to start off by, Mr. Heller, I want to thank you for your comments. And I'm glad that we got to show you, and now you understand, you know, what has happened prior to all of these meetings as well. You know, I've always been about trying to keep the taxes as low as possible, but without cutting services. And that's what was done. There were cuts. You know, people, it's been reported out there that there's no cuts. Nobody wants to agree to cut anything. There were a lot of cuts that were made prior to this all coming out, and now you know that. So I want to thank you for your comments. And I want to start off too by, you know, with Mr. Musell, I have all the respect in the world for him. You know, there's going to be things we disagree on, and we agreed. I made cuts. He wants further cuts. I'm listening to the professionals, our auditor, our CFO, our BA, where they are saying that we cannot go any lower, or we're going to have to eliminate services that the residents in our town count on. You know, some of the cuts that you had thrown out was $200,000 for Park and Rec. We have a Parks and Forestry division. We don't have a Park and Rec. Our Recreation Department is a separate department. Another thing that you brought up was, one of your proposals was you wanted to cut $20,000. You stated that you didn't want to cut anything from public safety, but you said you wanted to cut $20,000 from OEM. I spent over 25 years in law enforcement. OEM, Officer of Emergency Management. That's dealing with emergencies and public safety in the town. You can't cut $20,000 from that. We have an emergency. You're not going to have manpower. You're not going to have resources for these people to handle this in our town. God forbid something happens here. You wanted to cut $100,000 from legal. It was stated that we have 4 contracts that are coming up. So there's going to be extra legal things. We also have other potential litigation that's pending that we may need that money. And now if that happens, where do we get the money? We won't have it. As far as cutting from parks and forestry, it's those employees are also in the road department. Those employees are also the people that plow our streets. So if we're down manpower, okay, when it comes time to plow in the streets, if we have a lot of storms, we're going to have to go out and hire private contractors to plow these streets, which is going to cost us more money. You brought up about cutting $90,000 from the summer concerts and the farmer's market. I just don't agree with that. There are plenty of residents. I've always done my research, and I've talked to residents all over. The residents in our town want that. We've invested $30,000 in this budget for economic development, which is important. A $30,000 investment. We bring in businesses. If that economic development is able to bring in more businesses into this town, that's more revenue that helps us. Okay, so these are wise investments. It's been brought up, and I stated earlier, we had 14 employees that had to be reallocated just to collect our garbage. Okay, that means that Parks and Forestry and the things that they do on a normal basis were not able to get done that day. If you propose $200,000 be cut from Parks and Forestry, that would eliminate weekends. We have a lot of residents in here. You have kids, you use those fields on the weekends, guess what? There'd be no garbage pickup. There'd be no maintenance on the weekends. So what would happen? We wouldn't be able to provide the services that we do, that our residents enjoy. I'm sure for $8.33, you want to keep your parks open on the weekend. You want to maintain your garbage pickup twice a week. You want to have the public safety in this town. We went down to 81 deployable police officers, down 20 plus officers. Just can't have that. We had residents coming up telling us 4 or 5 months ago, I'll pay more. I want the police. Burglaries are up. Car thefts are up. We just can't do it. And again, I'm relying on our experts. Mr. Heller made the cuts, got it down to where they said can't go anymore. Just can't go anymore. These are the experts. I want to really thank our auditor, our CFO, and our BA, because I've had many conversations with them about this, and they've thoroughly explained to us, yeah, you've made cuts, but where you're at now, you can't. It would just be financially irresponsible to the town. So I'm voting yes. Thank you.
I first want to thank our residents for coming to our budget meetings. I hope they were informative. Your questions were answered, and if they weren't, I hope you would have conversations with our mayor or our BA or our auditor or even our financial gentleman. We have disagreements among us, but we work together. Mr. Musella wanted several cuts. The best that was done was with the departments, and they made their cuts. Our auditor has stated that this is a good budget, that it will help us next year. The mayor has told us that we will be on good ground next year with our budget. And I want to thank all of you, our auditor, our CFO, everyone, the mayor, Mr. Lynn, everyone, for helping us in getting this budget to where it is. Thank you.
Okay, so we have on Resolution 2023-80, the resolution of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany to adopt the budget of 2023. The motion was made by Mr. Musella. It was seconded by Mr. Neglia. We're going to go into roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
No.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
4-1, vote passes.
Okay, Resolution 2023-081, authorizing the application for an extension of time to award a contract under the New Jersey Department of Transportation MA 2021 North Beverick Road Streetscape Improvement Project, Phase 1. Motion to adopt resolution by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call. Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinances for introduction. Ordinance 2023:08. An ordinance of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, donating certain property to the Parsippany Volunteer Ambulance Squad. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on May 16th, 2023, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 27th, 2023, at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
And Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Second reading and public hearing, ordinance 2023-07, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township Parsippany-Troy Hills, County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430 titled Zoning to amend Section 430-96 titled Conditional Use to update same. The notice of ordinance 2023:07 was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township Parsippany-Troy Hills, on April 24, 2023, and introduced at the April 18, 2023 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2023-07 to be heard in their second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing, motion open the public hearing for ordinance 2023-07 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. Grignani.
Yes.
Floor is open to the public on this ordinance only. You have 5 minutes to speak. Seeing no one.
Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2023-07 by
Second.
myself.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. Grignani.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance is read in title on second reading and a hearing held hereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on the final reading and that notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above for ordinance 2023-07 by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Non-consent agenda, Mr. Musella?
R 2023-075, declaring a certain property identified as Block 226, Lots 3 and 3.2 on the official tax map of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills and located at 30 and 20 Lanedex Plaza West, respectively, as a non-condemnation area in need of redevelopment. Motion to approve the resolution made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2023-076, approving an emergency agreement for Route 46 near South Edwards Road, water main break. Motion to approve the resolution by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2023-077, declaring an emergency situation at the wastewater treatment plant and approving emergency agreement with Capola Services, Inc. to perform the necessary structural repairs and CME engineering to provide the necessary emergency engineering services. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero. Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Consent agenda, be it resolved, all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Discussion?
Yeah, I just have two questions really quickly. For the fireworks, do you know if we're trying to obtain a sponsor for that, like we did with Onyx Equities a while back?
Yes, Councilman, we are.
Okay.
We're working on that, yes.
And then when we do award this contract to Direct Development, what's going to happen to the vacant PIO position right now?
I think that the budget is passed and that vacant position is as it is right now.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't know it was gonna be asked. The 40,000 is gonna stay in to pay for the, PIO. But there's no health benefits that go with that.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we have a motion by Mr. Neglia, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of payroll and bills list. CFO Leonard Ho recommends authorization for payment. Authorized payment of the May 26, 2023 regular and miscellaneous payroll estimated at $1.65 million. Payment of bills from voucher list of 5/15/23 through 5/17/23 is $3.9,037,554. Motion to approve the authorization for payment above made by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
And Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night.